and the luxury lifestyle. Tech tools, toys, news, hot jazz, passionate living with your host and curator, Zenobia, the touchable tech diva. And now, Tech Diva and the Luxury Lifestyle and Zenobia, the touchable tech diva.
Hello, the touchable tech diva. We're touching technology today. Part 2 of my take on consumer electronics show. Zenobia here. You're at Tech Diva and the Luxury Lifestyle. See you in a bit. Anybody remember that song from the 70s, late 70s? I think that's the late 70s. Also, Sprock Zarathustra. Remember 2001, A Space Odyssey? That was like a big-time movie back then. Big time. And it had like the hot music track. Okay, I forgot I was listening to music here. Okay, and so that is a live version by Emir Deodato. Anybody remember Deodato? One of the artists on the early CTI Records label. Yes, going back. Okay, and then prior to that, a tune called Allegria, and that's Dave Weckl Band. And opening up the show, a tune called Hard Groove. Okay, so let me tell you about the music today. Last week, I gave a warning at the top of the show that it was going to be a hard acid jazz music set during the show. Well, I kind of calmed down later on in the show, but it started off really hard. Today, my playlist is what I call the Red Wagon 1 playlist. Okay, this is what I've been listening to riding in my Red Wagon, which is my ragtop 89 BMW. I have an old car. She still works. So she's called the Red Wagon. Cute little Red Wagon. Looks like the wagon back in the days with the little thing that we always got our kids when the top is down. So I'm calling this playlist the Red Wagon 1 playlist. And so there's no flow calculated like I usually do, but this is just what comes up on my phone when I'm riding in my car. Okay, so just enjoy. This is what I love riding around LA in. Okay, so no rhyme or reason here, just some really cool music that I love to listen to. Okay, I mentioned that we're going to do CES, Consumer Electronics Part 2, and that is from my POV, my perspective, my point of view. And there's going to be a little what's that going on with this, because if you watch some of my shows, I talk about untethering. So coming up, there are a couple of videos, a few video pieces that will talk about wireless charging and wireless power. And in a minute, I will have, hopefully by the end of the show, we'll have an announcement about a special guest that I'm going to have on my show in a couple of weeks that has a company that actually makes really, really cool, impressive products using one of these systems. So I'll get into that in a little bit. In the meantime, just a refresher always, if you're watching the show live right now, you're probably already schooled up on the fact that you can watch it on your desktop and your laptop and also on your smartphone. So if you're on your desktop or your laptop, you will go to rmconair.com. Okay, so this is if you need to tell your friends. Okay, and you're not tuned in yet. Okay, so rmconair.com. You can go straight to the website, and you can go there on your smartphone as well and watch the show live. It's going to kick you over to the Ustream.tv app. The Ustream app, which if you're watching me on your smartphone, you already have the Ustream app downloaded to your Android or to your iOS smartphone. But if you haven't and you want to be able to take me with you so you won't be captive to your desktop or your laptop, because our smartphones are becoming body parts. Well, mine is. I don't know about you. I know a lot of people it is not a body part, because I still see people leaving their phone and their car keys on a table in a restaurant or just some public facility, and they walk off and go do whatever they do. Mine is a body part. I freaked out because I did leave it in the restroom a couple of weeks ago, but it didn't take me but a minute to realize what I had done, and so I went back and grabbed it. Actually, someone had picked it up and taken it to the cashiers for me. That's a blip that makes me really, really nervous. Anyway, so if you're one to like to watch, you watch things on your smartphone, yes, you're going to download the Ustream app Thank you, Stu. Okay, for being a good sport at the holiday party, because he came up and we took him through the steps of downloading the app to his phone and actually searching RMC On Air channel, okay, in the Ustream app. And you get the RMC On Air channel. Click on that and you'll see a little red live thing, and you just click and go and you can watch the show live. So Stu, he went through all the steps and actually showed where he had the show on live. And thank you, Stu. Stu might be a visitor, I'm not sure, because I talked to him yesterday. And he has a great company. It's called Nonlinear Post. He's a post-production engineer. And I look forward to having him on the show, because sometimes you need to know what goes on behind the scenes to make some of these videos and the films. And Stu is a great guy, and he has a really good handle on the whole process of post-production. And I'm going to try and get him in before we get to the Oscars. Award season has already started, and there's some news on that I'll get into in the next few shows. But anyway, thank you, Stu. Okay, let's have some more of my Red Wagon mix. Zenobia here, the Touchable Tech Diva, curating and handpicking technology here and music here and passionate living experiences here at Tech Diva and the Luxury Lifestyle. I'll be back in a bit.
Welcome to Sting.
One, two, three, four, 5, 2, 2, 3, 4. 7 days is all she wrote, a kind of ultimatum note she gave to me, she gave to me. And when I thought the field had cleared, it seems another suitor bid to challenge me. Oh, woe is me. And though I hate to make a choice, my options are decreasing mostly rapidly. Well, we'll see. I don't think she bluffed this time. I really have to make her mine. It's plain to see. It's him or me. Monday, I could wait till Tuesday if I make up my mind. Wednesday would be fine. Thursday's on my mind. And Friday give me time. Saturday could wait till Sunday be too late. Oh. The fact is over 6 feet 10 might instill fear in other men, but not in me. The mighty flea. Ask if I am mouse or man. The mirror squeaked the way I ran. He'll murder me in time for his tea. Does it bother me at all? My rival is Neanderthal. It makes me think perhaps I need a drink. IQ's not an issue here. We won't be playing Scrabble for her hand, I fear. I need that beer. Monday, I could wait till Tuesday if I make up my mind. Wednesday would be fine. Thursday's on my mind. And Friday give me time. And Saturday could wait. And Sunday be too late. Oh. 7 days will quickly go. The fact remains, I love her so. 7 days, so many ways I can run away. I can run away. Monday, I could wait till Tuesday if I make up my mind. Wednesday would be fine. Thursday's all on my mind. And Friday give me time. Saturday could wait. But Sunday be too late. Oh, Sunday be too late. Oh. Do I have to tell the story of 1,000 rainy days since we first met? It's a big enough umbrella, but it's always me that ends up getting wet.
Okay. Familiar voice. Sting with Chris Botti. He's a great trumpet player. And the tune is called, of course, 7 Days. when you get a chance, you should really listen to these lyrics. It's really interesting because, well, Sting, of course, is a married man, but the whole premise behind the song is that the lady that he's enamored with has given him an ultimatum of 7 days. So he talks about how he needs to make her his and the competition. Really cute song. Okay, prior to that, a tune called Bubblin' Jam, and that's Doug Karn and Into It and Ray Obiedo. Sorry about that. And prior to that, Blueberry Cave, and that's Garage Mahal, one of my standards. And actually, I think we got the order reversed. Chris kind of reversed. There was a tune called AJ, and that was Bill Ortiz. Well, okay, Zenobia here, Tech Diva and the Luxury Lifestyle. I just sent the guest email for my guest for February 3rd. He just connected with me on LinkedIn, so I know he's online right now. So hopefully I'll get a response before the show is over, but I'm real excited about that. Well, let's see. Okay, so I've got my badge on, my CES badge. We're going to do a couple of videos. And I think I talked about in the part 1 of my consumer electronics show POV. Okay, I'm a bit distracted. There's 50 million things going on in my head today that I'm trying to organize and get done in 2 days, so it's kind of deep. Anyway, I talked about how the security was like a really, really big thing, and in the last couple of weeks, they were shooting out emails about how your bags would be checked and what kinds of bags you could not bring to the convention anymore. And because I was press. Yes, I got my press credentials for the show. Once you went through the little check of your stuff to start with, then as press, you got an official CES security approved sticker that, notice how it's kind of tacky, but they stuck it on my badge so that I didn't have to go through security every single time I went into a different building. And that's just a sign of the times, and it still flowed. There were still 170,000 attendees. And as I talked about before, those are just the ones that actually registered for the actual convention. There were thousands more that were there just kind of hanging out, or the companies, they had their own private demonstration rooms and suites and hospitality stuff going on in all the different hotels around there. Okay, so I showed some of the things. Here's some more technology stuff that I thought was really interesting, and I could see real products coming out of this. Okay, so Chris, pull up the one, the Discovery VR. Okay, so I'm not a gamer. And I haven't really I've tracked virtual reality for many years, way back in the early 90s when it was really crude and first getting started, and there were all kinds of, hardware stuff. And so now you still have to wear these glasses or goggles, but they're a lot more streamlined. And so I have a clip here of where I ended up at the Discovery Networks, Discovery Channel. They have lots and lots of content. So they're looking for another way to leverage this content, which is very cool. And I was really kind of surprised because I thought, it's probably a really conservative operation, but in fact they're not. They're embracing VR in a big way. So here's a clip of me with their VR glasses, and I tell you what I see. Okay. Probably have to get close.
Do you want to come around? Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm in the Discovery Channel, Discovery Network booth, and tell me what I'm trying on.
So this is Discovery VR, which stands for virtual reality. This is the Discovery Channel taking it to a whole other level.
Okay, so now tell me what I need to do.
So what you're going to do is you're going to put this on and make sure the straps fit you, adjust the focus.
Okay. Oops, because that was a little too tight. Oh, interesting.
So yeah, we'll just adjust the straps here.
Taking you to
I think they're a little too tight here.
Turns out my head's not that small.
It's pretty tight on the other side.
Okay.
That's good?
Yes. Okay, so I see words and stuff happening.
Okay, you ready for the earphones?
I'm ready for the earphones.
Okay, look up, down, and all around. Look behind you and everywhere.
Oh, okay. Oh, the giraffe is about to kiss me. And so it's an elephant. Okay. On my hometown, that's the quickest street in the world, San Francisco. Okay, from a skateboarder's perspective.
Start turning around and looking down.
Okay, oh man. All right, this is kind of interesting. It's got all kinds of cool little clips that give a lot of dimension. Okay, so now I'm on the water. Now I'm underwater, swimming with the sharks. That's very cool. Okay, very good. Okay, so actually, well, no, I have had on the Oculus Rift for a second. That's like way out there. But I must say that this particular one was very comfortable. And I didn't get the actual manufacturer of that headgear, and as you can see, it's branded with the Discovery Channel already. So, it's really interesting, and then you have to have the headphones on at the same time. That's the only drawback for me, is that there's a lot of gear that you still have to have on with VR. So, unless you're like really, really in tune to wanting to be in that kind of experience, it's not like sitting in your living room with your big screen and you're watching Super Bowl, which I'm going to have a bunch of stuff on Super Bowl. That's going to be in a couple of weeks, not too far away. But all in all, the experience was it was okay. The headgear was really light, so that was a nice thing. It was because the earlier ones were really heavy and uncomfortable. So that worked out really well. Yeah, I talked about how the giraffe came up to the camera and was kissing me. Yeah, so it's something that's kind of fun. For having some other experience and to get away from reality for a little while. And as I mentioned, how this affects you is that, well, Discovery Channel, if you are a cable subscriber, they are looking for other ways to put their content in front of you in your life. So your kids, it'll be really cool for little kids, because they'll get like the real experience, because now kids, a lot of times they don't get to travel or go anywhere, and to me this will be a great educational tool, which I'm sure Discovery is going to do, to be able to give children a real world experience of what it's really like in the animals' worlds, or being underwater and all that cool stuff. So I thought that they did a very good job. I'll be watching them in the future, and hopefully I can maybe have somebody come on the show sometime. That would be really cool. Okay, so another technology which you're hearing about all over the place. I forgot my printout about how Amazon wants to now deliver your packages using drones. But I walked by the booth Parrot, P-A-R-R-O-T, and they're big on drones, really big on drones. And I stood there for a little while and I'm like, oh my goodness, look what they're about to do. So watch this clip, it's really cool. Okay, so yeah, Chris was into it. It stopped suddenly. Well, okay, did you get that? That's what I call the drone ballet. I'll do it one more time. So I guess maybe I should have front loaded you, but I didn't want to. What this is at their exhibit, they had each drone come out by itself. Okay, so all total, there were something like, I couldn't keep up. It was something like 9 or 10 drones. Okay, and they're doing this coordinated dance. That's why I call it the drone ballet. And we were just all agaga. If a convention center could be quiet, it was right then, because we were trying to figure out how do they do that. And I was okay, before somebody takes it off the front porch, because during the holidays there's a lot of thievery, because we're ordering online a lot and packages just kind of get dropped off on the doorstep and or on the front porch, and people are going around just taking your stuff. So unless the drone can ring the doorbell to let you know your package is there, or they're actually taking a video of your package being delivered and hang around for a while to see if anybody picks it up, I'm not so hot on that, but we'll see what happens. Okay, I just thought that was really cool. Okay, one more technology and then we'll go to some more music. And I must say that, and I commented last year, there were a lot of startups that were at CES, and this time as well as last time, a lot. So people are coming up with ways to use this technology. Development is so much easier in terms of code, because you can do what we call WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get, so you can use plain English to actually do some of this programming and make some of these devices with these APIs, these app development kits. So there was a lot of wish I thought of that going on for me. So here's one. It's called Find It, and I thought it was really, really interesting in finding keys and all your other devices that you may lose. Okay, here you go.
Hi, I'm Nick Tro, and I'm with XY Find It, the Findables company. And what we do is make findable technology for every device in your life. So we create Bluetooth-powered beacons that you can use to put on your keys, put on a bag, anything that you might lose track of. We're also creating GPS devices, NFC devices, and everything that you could possibly use. You just download the app, register a device to your account, and then keep track of everything to make sure that you don't lose your shit.
Cool. Now, do you have something to show, device-wise?
Yeah. I'm pull one that's not ripped up here. Yeah, so currently on the market is the XY Find It.
XY Find It. Okay, so, that's an interesting shape.
Yep, and so this basically you put on a key ring, you can put it on a backpack, anything like that, and then you don't lose track of it, because if you go out of range, you'll get a notification straight to your phone.
Oh, okay.
And make sure that nothing's ever lost.
What's inside of it?
So inside, we'll rip this one up a little bit.
Inside.
So inside of it, there's a speaker so you can make it beep, and basically just a circuit board, a Bluetooth chip. Yep, there's a Bluetooth chip, an antenna, and that's pretty much everything that's there.
Bluetooth chip and antenna. Look how tiny these things are getting now, because we don't want to have big devices hanging off our keychain already. Okay, that's really cool. So I see on your brochure you have a picture of, it's like a dog tag for dogs.
Yeah, so basically what we've got coming out this year for restaurant products is the new generation of the XY Find It, as well as the Edge, which is the same technology but in a shape to fit inside of a luggage tag or a wallet or something thin. And then besides that, there's a GPS device that takes all the Bluetooth technology but also has GPS, so that you've also got signal anywhere that you've got cell reception, which means if your dog runs out in the woods, you can still find where he is and make sure that you don't lose him even if you're out of Bluetooth range.
Okay, very cool. That's Okay, now that's something that's really usable right now, and I like the design of it in terms of not only the shape but the convenience. And we've got all kinds of stuff hanging on our key rings now anyway, and that one's actually kind of cute, but it serves a really big function, and I see where there's all kinds of places where that can be used. And of course he mentioned on your smartphone you download their app. Okay, so if you don't have a smartphone, you're going to have to end up getting one, especially if you want to keep track of your stuff. He didn't say stuff, he said something else, but that's okay because this is the internet and we're not monitored like that. Anyway, so I thought that was really cool technology. Okay, let's do some more music, and you can digest that a little bit. And I got a little bit more stuff. We're going to do a what's that in the next segment about wireless power. Okay, Zenobia here, the Touchable Tech Diva, making technology touchable for you at Tech Diva and the Luxury Lifestyle. Tech tools, toys, news, hot jazz, passionate living. A lot of passion here. See ya.
kolabani. Owagadugo kalaba kolabani. Owagadugo kalaba kolabani. Owagadugo kalaba kolabani. Ouagadougou, Calabar, Colobane. Ouagadougou, Calabar, Colobane. Afrika dum sama gani. Anda wabarika sama gani.
Okay. Yeah, I'm reading it off my phone. That was okay. I was doing some other stuff. Jungle Eyes. Okay, Chris has to help me out here because I lost my place on my playlist. Chris, you don't remember either. It was Jungle Eyes. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. That was Jungle Eyes, and I just like to listen. Okay, we're in here grooving. Simon Phillips, and prior to that, Marcus Miller, High Life, and opening up the set, a tune called Drop That Beat, and that was David Basho. Okay, so we haven't done this in a while. This is time for What's That? Chris, you got my... What's that? Okay, I came up with this concept because a lot of times when I'm talking to various people and I bring up some technology term or I see them watching something about a technology term and they kind of glaze over and it's like, what's that? So this is a what's that. Now, I'm on a mission to untether us. Okay, right now, yeah, I'm charging, but that will change very soon. And I'm connected to my laptop. Turns out that the iPhone 6s Plus charges much faster plugged into my MacBook Pro laptop than plugging into the wall. Okay, go figure. But that's another what's that for another topic. But today, in the quest to be untethered and unwired, there are some technologies out there, and of course competing technologies, which eventually will come together for us to be able to power up any kind of device wirelessly, that's like without a wall plug, and using different kinds of devices to do that. So while I was at CES, I hunted down a couple of these alliances that I had seen last year and wanted to get an update. So the first one that I'm going to show you, which is not new to the game, but they showed for the first time last year at CES next to their competitor, and it is the Air Fuel Alliance. And so check this out, a definition of the air fuel system.
Hi, I'm Brad Miller with Gill Electronics here representing the Air Fuel Alliance, talking about wireless power. The difference in the Air Fuel Alliance and what my company works on is we utilize a technology called resonant technology. The current inductive technology requires very close alignment of objects, charging one object at a time, limitations in power. What we're showing is the next generation technology. And here we've got an automotive console, and in this we actually have a multi-mode.
This is a console from inside of a truck.
And,
console, right?
yeah, and so this is showing a phone, and on the phone we've got a case that has the receiver in it. It's an iPhone, and we put it in the console.
So iPhones, iOS products have to have a case at this point that has the technology built into it.
Correct. Yeah, Apple does not have it yet. And this is showing a Samsung Galaxy with a receiver built into it.
Okay, so the Samsung Galaxy you can just put right onto, you call that the transmitter?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Because they have the technology built inside of that phone.
Yep.
Okay.
And so you can slide the device anywhere in the area, and it will charge.
It will charge. Is it fast charging?
If the phone has fast charging in it and it's enabled with the fast charging, it will. The fast charging is more a feature in the phone than the transmitter.
Oh, okay. So depending on who developed the phone,
yes,
whose handset it is, would dictate if it's fast charging.
Yes. Typically with resonant technology, the devices will charge about the same speed as plugging into the wall.
Okay. Okay. What are some of the really cool applications aside from, well, our most urgent need, of course, is our phones, our cell phones. But what are some of the other innovative ways that you see the technology being deployed?
It can be used used in a lot of things. We're doing a lot of stuff in medical, both in doing recharging surgical instruments that now are very easy to clean because they can be sealed, all the way to charging implanted devices. One of the things we're working on,
you said charging an implanted device.
Implanted devices. Imagine today people that have pacemakers in their chest. Every couple times a year, they actually have to go in, put an incision in, and replace the battery in those. So it's a very invasive, painful type process. Where with wireless charging, somebody could actually put a transmitter in the area and charge that. The same thing for like a cochlear implant for a hearing impaired disability. So the technology can be used from medical, industrial applications, charging heavy batteries. We're really not focused on it here, but we actually use wireless charging to recharge electric vehicles.
Nice. Okay, on a large scale.
Absolutely.
Oh, that sounds great. Well, I'm on a mission for wireless charging, and this is great news, and I'll continue to watch your progress.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, let me back up just a little bit because the first deployment that all of us want to see is to take care of the solution of our phones running out of battery. So that's one of the first deployments. Right now, if you have purchased a Samsung or a Google, an Android cell phone in the last 2 to 3 years, then this wireless charging technology is already built into it's on the motherboard of the phone. Okay, so let me break that down a little bit. In terms of wireless charging, again, it's kind of like Bluetooth. You have to have a transmitter to send the signal, and you have to have a receiver to receive the signal. So just breaking this down, it's just like anything else wireless. You know, you have to have a transmitter to send it, and you have to have a receiver to pick it up. So as I mentioned, with the Android handsets, most of them, they'll have a receiver already built in. Okay, but what the features are dependent on who the manufacturer is of that handset. Just like when I talked about before, updating your iOS on your, not your iOS, your operating system on your Android devices, that's happening all different ways depending on who the manufacturer is of your phone. So here again, it's the same kind of concept. Right now, the Apple phones do not have that technology built in. And I would say that they're probably waiting for it to mature a bit more, because that's what they do. Or they may be designing their own. I got kind of an inkling of maybe that may be happening, maybe not. So you have to get a case that has the receiver built into the case. I don't have one yet. I'm expecting to get one pretty soon. So then you can just put the phone that's in the case right on a transmitter pad. Okay, so here's another clip that actually shows you. Oh, and before we go to that clip, the applications that he's talking about is not just about for their technology, but the application for on any of these technologies, they're going to be extending that out so that whatever technology wins, or hopefully it'll be a marriage of all the technologies together so we can get a standard. They will, it'll be applicable to a lot of different industries. And they pointed out about the medical industry, and that's a big deal about, for instance, pacemakers and and charging those pacemakers, because it's very, I've not had that, of course, but it's very uncomfortable to go in to get your pacemaker replaced. They don't last forever. And this will be a great way to recharge it without totally opening up your chest again to take that device physically out. So I'm really, really liking that particular application, or at least the medical applications. And of course, wireless charging of electric vehicles would be like a wonderful thing. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Okay, so here's a couple of examples of how this is deployed.
So here we're demonstrating resident wireless power again. This is an embedded solution.
Okay, so now tell me about where you have it blocked off. Is that blocked off for a reason?
That's the charging area. So if you look, this is the transmitter that's underneath. And so this is the charging area. So this is literally just stuck with tape to the bottom of the
actually
container.
underneath the counter.
So this is transmitting through
So it can
1
go
inch.
through like a counter.
Yes, it can go through anything besides metal. So wood, cement, marble, quartz, you name it, it can go through.
Is there a distance limitation?
Yes and no. It really depends what the transmitter is set up to. Today we transmit through roughly 25 to 40 millimeters, so 1 inch to 1.5 inches thick, which is a typical countertop. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So usually you just put a device in the area and it charges, and I can
Now
put
the
it.
transmitter is underneath, understand? So all you have to do is set the devices on top within this particular parameter area that's taped off, and it will do regular charging.
Yep, and you can see it'll even charge sitting up in the air. So if this is at home on my kitchen counter and there's a bunch of magazines and stuff sitting on top, it doesn't matter. I can still throw my devices on top, and you can see everything's charging.
It's charging. Okay, and that's a Samsung. Now, that's a Samsung on top, but then also there's an iPhone that's in a case.
Yes.
Okay, so iPhone people, you're not getting left out, but you do have to buy an extra case.
Yep. There's other kinds of things. We got like little,
some other little
things
cool
that you can, you plug in and stick it behind your case, or a lot of venues and public places sort of loan these types of devices out to charge your device.
Okay, very cool. So you're gonna have some options. Now, is this out in the marketplace now?
It is. A lot of these are being installed today in a lot of restaurants, cafes, hotels. There's not a lot of it available in the consumer market, but I know it's coming very soon.
Very soon, a year, 2 years, 3 years?
Oh, I think a matter of weeks.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right, cool. Wireless power charging, yay.
Yes.
Okay, thanks again.
Thank you.
Well, okay, so now go to your favorite restaurant and ask if they have wireless charging. Okay, so this is a really cool thing because I didn't get a chance to show you actually underneath the counter, but you saw the pad, and they can be different sizes, but all they did was duct tape that pad underneath the counter, and then just define the area the size of that pad where you could then just put your phone there and get your phone charged. That's where I want to see this going rapidly. Okay, now there's another technology that's called the inductive technology, and so here's a clip about the inductive technology.
Hi, I'm Dan Gatteau, and I'm with the Wireless Power Consortium. We're here at CES 2016 showing the latest with wireless charging, or the global standard called Qi. It's a Chinese philosophy of power and a balance of power. Lately, there's a lot of anxiety that happens with consumers. You run out of battery power in your smartphone. Well, in the last 5 years, 235 of the top consumer electronics companies have addressed that with 90 some odd smartphones like this Nexus that come embedded with wireless charging capability. So
when you say embedded,
that means it's inside.
Chip inside.
There is a chip Qi chip inside that allows you to simply place your phone on any charger, and in this case it's integrated with the Samsung monitor. And
Okay, so this Samsung monitor right here actually has a Qi transmitter in it.
that's right. This is
Okay, it's built into the stand.
This is the transmitter, this is the receiver, and look at that. And that tells you it is charging. And
Okay, the red light says that it's charging.
it does. So the good news, if you look, we've got 100% charging. And this is really what we're talking about. Wherever you are in your daily journey, you wake up in the morning, come on over here, I'll show you this. You may have a desk lamp or a side table that may be
this
made
is
by
the
IKEA.
lamp.
Exactly.
And it has the Qi transmitter.
You'll go to sleep, you'll set that on there, you wake up in the morning, you got 100%. Okay? Then, after you brush your teeth and
Without having to look for a cord to plug it in.
Of course, no more messy cords. So battery anxiety's gone, and all the messy cords that are all jumbled up. So you go from that, waking up, ready to take on the day, you get in your car. So if you want to follow me over here, follow me. You get in the car, put that in your console or under your armrest,
Console in your car.
and it will charge. So this is an example, and we actually have Robert here doing a demonstration about how that is. So
Yeah, so
you want to show?
this phone is set to my preferences. So not only can I charge it by placing it on the pad, but once it's recognized with this green signal, it changes the ambient lighting to my preference. The seat is adjusted how I like it.
Oh, it
My
changes the
lumbar
adjustments on your car
automatically
to your
works with my
settings.
seat memory. That's right. And then you can see we're charging. I get a nice indication of the Qi charging. And then I also I set a course for where I want to go once I leave the show, so my map shows up, and I can start the car by placing it with NFC pairing.
That's amazing.
So what we've done is we've gone
were here
beyond.
last year.
Yeah, she was. She's been here.
remember you.
So we've gone beyond.
Okay. I forgot I didn't quite edit that. Well, I didn't edit it at all, but yeah, we're sitting here watching this. Yes, so now you see a lot of the possibilities where this wireless charging can very quickly take us, and they're coming out with all kinds of applications. I don't know, that was a simulation, but Cadillac and BMW already have this built into their cars. So you should be able to actually deploy this and wirelessly charge your phone now. That's a good opportunity for me to go test a Cadillac and a BMW. Okay, that's the What's That. Stay tuned. I will have more information on wireless power charging in the future. That's What's That. Okay. All right. I love this tune. Pocket Full of Nasty. I love the title of that. And that's Doug Johns. And prior to that was Under the Water Spouts and Ray Lyon. Okay, yes. Now you have your first introduction to Chi Power and also the Air Fuel Alliance wireless power charging, which we're all wanting to have to get rid of the cords. Get rid of the power cords, yes. Because, you know, I used to tell my clients, spend the $5 to get you an extra cord for your phone so you can leave one in your car and have one at the house. Well, no, they don't do that. Okay, so I see people running around trying to use other people's chargers to charge their stuff in when they're someplace. Okay, real quick piece of news because this is very timely because we just have a few more minutes left to the show and I want to play one more song. If you are on the iPhone, if you're on an iOS device and you go to the music app, okay, where you can play your music, where you load your music in and you can play your music, there's a thing called iTunes Radio there. So if you hunt out iTunes Radio, well, guess what? There's more content there that you can listen to for free. And it's radio style. In fact, I have Chris to pull off the audio off the show because I was going to put it on iTunes Radio so you'll have another way to actually listen to the show. Well, I just discovered this actually on my drive up to Vegas for CES, and I thought, gee, this is really cool because you can select a genre, and there's all kinds of cool stuff. And I got into listening to a Pharrell show that was really, really cool, and he picked some really cool music. But anyway, I guess either enough of us didn't find out and use it, or the bigger idea is that Apple is just going to roll this into Apple Music because they want you to pay and they know that you'll pay for music. So you have until January 29th to actually listen for free. And this was in, I don't have my reference. Oh yeah, this is in Rain News, RAIN news.com. That's one of my go-to sources right now for online radio news. And it says iTunes Radio exits free, creeps into Apple Music as the internet radio landscape is reshaped. Okay, yeah, there's going to be a whole thing, and I talked about this before, about the royalties for music on online radio have drastically changed, and that will change. At this point, we're not affected. Yay. Okay, so the iTunes Radio, a late arriving internet radio initiative, widely appraised as the Pandora killer. Okay. Pandora, as you know, you can take an artist, somebody that you like, and actually create a whole station worth of different songs based on that type of artist. And so, yeah, everybody's looking for some way to kill Pandora, but it's hot. Okay, it will end as a free ad-supported service on January 29th. On that date, the lean-back listening service will become part of Apple Music's monthly music subscription offering. Okay, so it was launched in September 2013, so it hasn't been around a very long time. And as I mentioned, I just really discovered it a couple of weeks ago, not that long ago. Accompanied by earth-shaking pronouncements of inevitable marketplace triumph thanks to Apple's immense distribution power in smartphones. Okay, that's the same rationale upon which soaring Apple Music predictions are based. This is, let's see, I'm looking for the author. Oh, sorry, I can't give you the author right now. Anyway, so this goes on and on. If you go to rainnews.com, RAIN news.com, and search on iTunes Radio, then you'll find the article. So enjoy it while it's free. So you just go to the iTunes Radio portion of the music app on your phone, okay, and you can listen to all kinds of really cool things. they know that you'll pay. I just did a whole thing on one of the shows that said how many are paying, and already Apple Music is up to something like 30 million or 40 million 10 million paid subscribers in less than 6 months. So they know that you'll pay. Anyway, enjoy it. Okay, I think we have time for one more song real quick, Chris. We have time for one more song. Let's do Get Freaky Now. Okay, so the show will be posted, of course, on the YouTube channel and on techdivatv.com in a couple of days or so. So if this was over your head on the whole wireless charging thing, you can go back and listen to it in a few days. And I had some more news, but ran out of show, so I'll save it for the next time. And yes, I'm looking forward to hosting Soren Nielsen from Diva, and that's Pond Wireless Charging, a company in San Diego. We had a great time at the CES show, and he has agreed to come on the show February 3rd, so that's in a couple of weeks. Looking forward to that. Okay, I'm out. So for today, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the rest of your day. Go check out some live music. If not, go check out some of these technologies that I talk about. The CES show is up on YouTube, so you can watch last week's show and kind of digest stuff that's going on. Okay, Zenobia here, the Touchable Tech Diva, curating and handpicking technology, tools, toys, news, hot jazz, passionate living experiences just for you. Be well. See you next time.